self-drafting a skirt. I have produced my own block. I mean, I make that sound like I've done it. I haven't. I've used a computer program to do it. One of my lovely subscribers just mentioned to me when I was chatting about that I needed to redraft my block because it didn't fit anymore, because my body shape has changed over the last couple of years, etc. And it never really fit quite right. She mentioned a online resource called Pattern Lab, where you basically put all your measurements in, and the wizardry of this computer program then builds a block for you. And it's got blocks for all different things, whether it's just a bodice, whether it's a torso block, whether it's a sleeve block or trousers or a skirt or whatever. Obviously it's a paid for thing, but it's very good. So I have paid for the torso block, which essentially gives you the bodice and up to the low hip, which means I can make a skirt from that as well. And I am having a little play. I am super excited. What I did when I printed out my first block from Pattern Lab was I made it a quick toile up in calico. It wasn't quite right because I think the apex was in the wrong place. Even though I'd put the right measurement in, when it printed out, the apex was about about 3/4 of an inch too high for me. So there's a few little tweaks, but what you get with it is you get a 60-day sort of grace period. So if you do need to make any adjustments to measurements, etc., during that time to tweak it to get the fit exactly right, you can do that without any extra charge. And then after 60 days, it's fixed. So I have done that. Interrupted there by the husband. Right, so what I've done is I have decided to start with a skirt, which sounds a bit odd considering it's a bodice block that I have my draft of, but hear me out here. So there is a pattern that I have been wanting to make for some time, and it is the Henrietta Skirt by Spaghetti Western. You might have heard of it, you might not have heard of it, but I'm going to be honest, when I look at the imagery on the website, it doesn't fill me with confidence. I will leave the link to it down below so you can go and have a look for yourself, because I'm going to say no more on that because I don't really want to elaborate on that. But yeah, it doesn't fill me with confidence. However, I do know 2 or 3 people that have made it and said it's really good pattern. However, I've now got my own block, so I thought, how about I just try and redraft this for myself using my block, because then I know it's going to fit and I can tweak it as I need to, etc. And it helps me just experiment a little bit with my block, I guess. So that's what I've done. I haven't filmed the process of how I've done it because I feel that would be a little bit unfair to a designer that obviously has put in a lot of work to draft a pattern for sale for people, and so obviously I don't think it's fair to show you how I've done that, but I will show you what I've ended up with and where we go from here. So using my torso block, I have drafted this skirt. So this is what it's going to look like. We've got a front panel here, well, front and back panel, which is going to be cut on the fold. We've got a front upper side piece, back upper side piece, because it's the same front and back, which again will be cut on the fold. And then I've got the front and back bottom side piece, which is also going to be cut on the fold and will be gathered up to attach to the upper front and back side piece. And then all this will be gathered, just remember that's going to be on the fold, and then there'll be another piece at that side, which will be gathered into a waistband. This is going to be a 2-inch waistband cut on the fold, elasticated, and I might put a drawstring in as well, we'll see. So this is what I've got. I am now going to get some fabric pressed and cut it out and see what it looks like. The fabric that I have chosen is this. So it is this lovely linen, which is a gingham in these gorgeous greens and ivory. I think In fact, I don't know. I can't actually remember where I bought this from. It's a fairly recent purchase, so you would think I would remember where I bought it from, but I don't. But it's lovely. Anyway, it's a lovely weight. I have about 3.5 meters of this. I have laid it out on my floor already just to check that I have enough yardage to be able to get this pattern out of, because this is the only thing when you draft yourself. You don't actually, you don't have any sort of pattern instructions to tell you how much fabric you need. So you've got to lay all your pattern pieces out and just see how things fit. But yeah, it all looks like it's going to fit fine if I am careful with fabric. So I'm going to get this cut out and then we'll start sewing. Thing is cut out, but I've already hit my first snag. This pattern piece, so this is cut on the fold, and I should have really checked the pattern piece when it was opened up before I cut it on the fold. But what I've ended up with is something that looks like a bat, and what needs to happen is this needs to be straightened off so that it curves round like that. So I think what I'm going to do is just using my pattern piece that I have made, I am going to, this pattern piece, I'm going to trace it out again so it's in one piece, and then just make sure that curve goes in one curve, and then put it on these pattern pieces that I've already cut out and hope that I can straighten that off. We'll see anyway. I've done that, so I've ended up with something that looks like that. So I did really want it a bit more curved, but I think once it goes over my hip, I think you'll get the effect anyway. So I think it's going to be all right. So I'm just going to now put it back on my pattern, on my fabric that I've cut out, and hope that I can just recut it. There we go. I've ended up with something like that. Let's get sewing. So what do you think? Did I hit the brief? Does it look like the Henrietta skirt? I have really enjoyed this project. It's been a big learning curve, to be honest. There was a couple of mistakes that I made in the fact that I didn't get the dimensions of the waistband correct, and that meant that I not only had to put elastic in the waistband, but I also had to gather in the top of the skirt prior to attaching it to the waistband that I then inserted the elastic in, which meant that I have got a lot of bulk around my waist, which wasn't intentional. So if I make this skirt again, I will have to address that. But you know, we don't learn unless we try these things, do we? I also have, when I've hemmed it, I don't know if you noticed in the footage there, I have hemmed it really wonky, so I really need to go back and sort that out. I need to let down the hem, and I think I'm going to use my pinchy device thing, which is a hem leveler, that's the word, to put my skirt on my mannequin and get the hem level and then resew it. But otherwise, I am really happy with it. I have really enjoyed learning about how to draft from a block, and it's really given me inspiration into trying out other projects. So watch this space. Right, that's it from me today. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you again really soon. Take care. Bye.